President Joe Biden, calling for significant changes to the Supreme Court, including term limits, as well as massive reform. Of course, this has been called for by lots of progressives. Many of those say he falls short because they say he should be expanding the Supreme Court. Joining us right now is Stasha Rhodes. She is campaign director for United for Democracy. She joins us right now. Stasha, glad to have you here. Walk us through the reforms that President Joe Biden is proposing. Look, a lot of people not happy with the Supreme Court. They feel as if they're extremely hardcore right-wing, ideological, and so therefore folks have been calling for reform. And then we know, of course, what has happened when it comes to the gifts. Some $5 million going to Supreme Court justices the last 20 or 30. Clarence Thomas has gotten $4 million of those gifts, and then not reporting flights, yacht trips, things along those lines. So many folks have said that reform for the Supreme Court is long overdue.
Roland, thank you so much for having me. And most importantly, thank you for covering this important issue. We are excited. United for Democracy is excited about the president's announcement for reforming the Supreme Court. We believe it's a vital step towards ensuring a court that truly reflects the values and needs of the American people and not just the wealthy few. For too long, the integrity of this high court has been compromised by undue influence and partisan maneuvering. And so President Biden's commitment to reform is, for us, a testament to his dedication to restoring faith in our democratic institutions. As you mentioned, it is no secret that today's court is too biased, corrupt, and way too powerful. In recent years, the court has overturned long-standing precedents that protect our fundamental freedoms. This court has gutted civil rights protections, taken away a woman's right to choose, and now granted presidents broad immunity from prosecution for crimes they commit in office. At the same time, ethics scandals involving the justices in this supermajority have caused the public to question the fairness and independence that are essential for a court to faithfully carry. So these reforms are welcome. You mentioned the president's reform. He has three. He just gave a speech in Texas at the LBJ Library, and the three reforms are no immunity for crimes a former president commits in office. The president has said that the founders believe that the president's power is not limited. Is limited. And so it's really important that we're able to sort of ensure that no one is above the law. The second is term limits for Supreme Court justices. Congress approved term limits for the presidency over 75 years ago. We believe that it's possible for Supreme Court justices as well. And then finally, a binding code of ethics for the Supreme Court. I would like to say just a second about court expansion and other reforms. I think it's really important for folks to understand that there are a number of reforms that have been on the table for quite some time. It's not just court expansion. There are several others. We believe that this, though, is a step in the right direction. The Supreme Court, the issues we face with this court, we are facing multifaceted problems that will require a package of reforms, not just one. Will require package of reforms, and advocates should continue to push for a number of those. But we believe that this, from the president, is a sea change and allows us the conversation on a national stage to talk about why this is important.
I was listening to Biden's speech, and one of the things that I learned was that this idea of term limits is something that it's not a new idea. This is something that kind of happens with every presidential administration throughout the years. So can you talk to the fact that people are acting like this is a novel idea when this is something that has always been proposed in some way, shape, or form?
No, it's certainly not new, and I think I would go a step further and say that it's popular. Recent polling shows mounting support for term limits. The American people are not in favor of justices serving lifetime terms. And for many administrations, advocates across the judicial space have been asking for Congress to enact term limits to ensure that we have an opportunity to rotate justices and ensure that we have justices who are able to meet the current moment and are able to sort of judge in a modern time. And so it's not new, but most importantly, the American people want it. We're seeing mounting evidence of that.
And so, Stasha, what do you think about those of us who have been saying this is good, like everybody is down for these particular reforms, but some are just like, yo, can we get the hookup on the court expansion? I mean, do you feel like this is something that we know Biden's not going to suggest it, but do you feel like this is something that is just going to be completely off the table going down the line? And what is the position of your organization on this?
Yeah, look, I think right now we have to sort of understand this in a couple of phases. One, the president is a known institutionalist. He has been not the quickest to critique the Supreme Court, and certainly not the quickest to offer up structural reforms to our democracy, and particularly the Supreme Court. And so this is a big deal for the president to use his platform to say, yes, not only should we do this, but Congress has the authority and the ability to reform the Supreme Court. For us, this opens the door for us to talk about why the Supreme Court is an issue. The justices are a problem, but the structures of our democracy are not meant to work in 2024. And so we should structurally reform and change it. And now we have a national conversation about why that is possible and why it needs to happen. The president's reforms, his announcement today, opens the door to have that conversation. And so advocates who have bigger, deeper, bolder ideas should continue to beat the drum on those reforms and should see this as an opportunity to add more things to the president's package. This is his first step. This is his sort of, I think, door opening opportunity for all of us to say, and what about these things too? But right now, we are excited about the three reforms that he's offered up because these are not low-hanging fruit, I should say. These are pretty important reforms that will take a lot of work for us to pass. But to your point, there are a number of us who believe in not just court expansion, but things like jurisdiction stripping, so ensuring that the Supreme Court is not taking the power of other branches of government. We're seeing them do that. We're seeing the Supreme Court make decisions that take power away from Congress. In this last term, they have taken power away from the executive branch. And so we also believe in reforms that take that power away and really ensure that we have a Supreme Court that works for the American people, but also allows the other branches of government to govern as well.
And so my last question for you is, do you feel like, I mean, we know Speaker Mike Johnson said this is dead on arrival, blah, blah, blah. Do you really feel like there is any possibility that maybe there are some potential Republicans who maybe are seeing what's going on in their own districts? You know, is there any possibility that this could actually get some form of Republican support, even if it's not enough to make the changes needed? But do you think it's a complete unanimous decision? Is really dead on arrival?
I don't know. I will phrase my answer in a different way and say that if we all get out and vote in November, we have the opportunity to create a governing moment where a robust, comprehensive package of reforms will be on the table in a real way. And President Biden has opened the door for that. We know that Vice President Harris supports these as well. The ultimate way to make these a reality is to show up in November. And I think we have to start telling people that. We have to start talking about what you are voting for. We're asking people to show up in large numbers, and that's good, but we have to tell them why it matters. And it matters because if you are able to have a governing society, these packages are not dead on arrival. We have a real opportunity to pass reforms to the Supreme Court and change this democracy and strengthen it for a lifetime.
All right, folks. Well, Latasha, look, this is a critical issue, and we'll certainly see if Congress moves on it. Certainly Republicans don't want to do that. But this is a major issue for Democrats, and it should be something that's talked about when it comes to the election. So we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Curl Prep Natural Hair Solutions at curlprep.com.
I'm in shock.
For curls, locks, braids, twists, and even those wigs and extensions. Women, men, and children are loving this line. Look at this video and you be the judge. People line up to see this product in action at hair shows, and when they take a seat and try it, they don't believe it's their hair. Buy the products at curlprep.com. It works on all hair types. Use code Roland, that's ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount. Parents, remove the ouch. You will love this system because you can comb the product through your child's hair with your fingers. It's all at curlprep.com. Use code Roland, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount.